welcome to this week's Buddy Chat. Today I'm joined by Jonathon Holden and we're talking about accessibility. Do you want to introduce yourself to everyone, Jonathon?
Right, okay, so yes, I'm Jonathon. I do accessibility stuff. For example, during lockdown, I spent a lot of time working out how to build accessible websites with Webflow.
Yeah.
But I'm also now working on an app that will help people to write more accessibly for the web so that it's open to everyone.
And when you say accessible stuff, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, it's funny because it does mean all sorts of things. So I do mentoring for organizations who are trying to make the products that they're building more accessible to everybody. So, but I mean, maybe we need to talk about what accessibility is.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to kind of start exploring, because a lot of people see accessibility as passing a test, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines test, especially in public service spaces. But what does accessibility actually mean? You lost me.
I can't hear you. I didn't hear any of that.
Oh no. Can you hear me now?
I can now. Yeah.
Right. I was saying it's really important to define accessibility, because a lot of people think it's about passing the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines test, especially in the public sector. Now that it's law to be a AA standard. So what does accessibility actually mean?
Well, I mean, it does mean passing the guidelines, but it's much more than the guidelines. It simply means that anyone can use your content, and making that happen, you've got some guidelines to help you, but it's actually about real people. One of the problems with having a law is that it suggests that if you tick the boxes, then everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But if you don't test your content, test your websites with people who use assistive technology, so people who use a screen reader, for example, so rather than being able to physically read the words, they listen to your web page, it's impossible to really feel whether your website's actually working or not. And it's, disabled people are not interested in suing the company or suing the organization. They just want to be able to get the information they need and use it. And if they can do that, then that's fine. And they use a lot of workarounds, and they know how YouTube works in a particular way and Zoom works in a different way, and they figure that out, and they find their ways of working. But yeah, the guidelines are there to just help everybody understand a process to get somewhere.
And it's not just about disabled people for me. It's about making it more accessible and more easily accessible to everyone. So if you take captions on videos, for example, they don't only help someone who has hearing impairment, they help someone who might be needing to watch a video when we can commute again, or for any other reason. They might need to have their phone or their device on silent and read the content. Also, if you're looking at kind of reading age or things like that, actually the more accessible and the easier it is to read, it makes it easier for everyone to understand. It's not just for those that have a lower reading age. Adding a ramp to a shop makes it easier for people who don't need to use a wheelchair as well as those that do.
And for people who use a push, are pushing a push chair,
exactly,
or have just got a lot of stuff in their hands, and they just don't want to go up 3 steps.
Exactly.
And you're right. I mean, I live in a house with lots of people, and there's a silence law. So we're all constantly on our phones all day, and if suddenly a video on Twitter starts making a load of noise, or on Instagram starts making a load of noise because someone is speaking, it really annoys everybody else in the house. so we all have our phones on silent all the time.
Yeah.
So if I see a video content that hasn't got subtitles, I just don't bother with it.
Yeah.
I just won't look at it. I mean, we need to use the word inclusion. You know, it's about including everybody, and that's for me the key. It's not about trying to say, oh well, yeah, we have to think about blind people. No, we have to include everybody.
Yeah.
And for me, that's, yeah, as I say, that's the key thing.
So I've got a bit of a devil's advocate question that I've been burning to ask you for a while. So
really? I'll do my best.
When you're in a situation, so best practice for website accessibility is to build with accessibility in mind.
Yes.
When you have a very old website that may not have been built with accessibility in mind, you have to obviously retrofit some of your accessibility fixes.
Yeah.
Another best practice is to test and to research with your website users.
Yeah.
When you're faced with that accessibility first, don't use it, and that kind of comes with the don't use a toggle plugin, like to change things. Yeah. When through user research you're faced with a low level of technical knowledge and digital knowledge, and a lot of the people you're talking to didn't know that they could use shortcuts on their computer to zoom into the content, does it then become okay to use the toggle because that's what they want?
No.
Why not?
Because you don't know all of your users.
Yeah.
You only know the ones that you've talked to, and there are going to be other people who are going to be coming to your website with particular needs that they have managed to solve through using their own assistive technology. So the way I like to think about it is, here, have a hospital wheelchair because you've broken your leg. Okay, fine. That works for me because I've broken my leg and I just need to be able to get out of the hospital and get home, and then maybe, you know, go out for Sunday lunch.
Yeah. And
so using a hospital wheelchair is not a problem. It's a temporary fix. Okay. But if I have a spinal injury and I'm going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, the last thing I want is a hospital wheelchair.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It will give me not bed sores, but sores because it's uncomfortable. It won't fit through a lot of doors. It's going to be heavy and I won't be able to propel it myself. I want control over what it is that I need in my life. I want autonomy.
Yeah.
And so I will work out how to get that. So maybe I'll do some crowdfunding to be able to buy a £4,000 wheelchair.
Yeah.
Once I've got that, that's the one I want. It's built for my frame, for me, and it does what I need it to do. So I've sorted that problem for me. And what you're suggesting is, well, okay, that's fine. But now that you've got that wheelchair, I'm going to make you use this wheelchair. But I don't want to use your wheelchair.
Is there a way of doing the work on the website that's necessary to make sure that it's accessible to assistive technologies and to test that, whilst at the same time offering the quick and simple, I need to zoom in, I need to change the contrast tool? Or do those tools then interfere with the work that you're doing?
With most browsers.
Yeah.
If you do that within the browser, then you've got that control anyway. Within Chrome, you can zoom in, you can change the color contrast, you can do all sorts of things just within the browser. So you don't need another tool to do that.
So you would advocate for adding basically a page to educate people and tell them how they could use a website through their browser.
those pages do exist.
Yeah.
There's lots of them.
Yeah,
and
AbilityNet's got
a lot of websites.
Yeah.
Say again?
AbilityNet has got a great.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. And so I would say, yeah, link to that. If your website isn't yet compliant, but to be honest, even the BBC links to AbilityNet and says, do this.
That's what
things
UK does
that
as
you
well.
can do. Yeah, you can use these things to help you, and not just on this website, but on all websites.
Yeah.
And I think that's a much better way of doing things. Yeah. And then once you're on the journey of trying to make your website accessible, then you just look at the most important things. Make sure that your color contrast is good, so you don't have gray text on a white background, which is just impossible to read.
But it was so fashionable 4 years ago.
I mean, it's
everyone's website's got it.
It still is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And you've just got to make things a bit more readable, and that can be fixed very quickly.
Yeah.
Make sure that your images have got alt text, alternative text, so that when you're using assistive technology, which is going to tell you what the image is, it's there for you. And it's also great for your search engine optimization as well. Your SEO improves because it's got some text that the bot can read, and it's the same text that the screen reader is reading to tell you what's in the image. So yeah, color contrast, get that sorted. Sort out a decent sized font. 16 point is much better than 8 point. No gray on white.
Yeah.
It's fairly simple things that can make a huge difference. Making sure that the links mean something. So if you've got a blog, a library page for your blog, and you've got the heading and the picture and a little bit of text, and then it says read more, or click here to read more, that's fine for me as a sighted user. I can see that button is connected with that piece of text, and I can click it. But if I'm coming at it from as a screen reader user, and then I just want to maybe look at all of the links on the page, because I know that this is a blog page. So if I listen to the links, it'll tell me where I'm going to go to, or it should.
Yeah.
And it'll tell me link to this particular page. And then I don't need to listen to everything. I don't need to listen to the heading and the subheadings and all the rest of it. I can just listen to the links and go to the particular page that I want.
Yeah.
Much
it allows you to skim read as if
you
would if you were a sighted person. You would
exactly.
Skim read and go, oh, that's a bit of information I need, I'll go there. But if you don't have that information, so if you've just got a list of read more,
read more,
you're just going to get lost in it. And that's really upsetting. Yeah.
But it's those little tricks for people who use screen readers that, as you say, it's skim reading. Yeah, it's exactly the same. Yeah.
And it just speeds things up for them, because otherwise they've got a robot voice.
Yes.
Telling them the entirety of the page. So before we wrap things up, what one thing would you ask everyone watching to do in terms of improving their accessibility? What's the one thing that everyone can probably do to make things just a bit easier for everyone?
I think the biggest change is alt text on images, and the reason for that is because it makes everyone think a little bit more about why are they putting an image there, what's it doing, how is it helping the story that I'm telling through this blog page or on this page, and it starts to get people to think about why they're putting every piece of content on the page. And then once you start thinking about, well, why am I putting this image on, then you'll start thinking, well, why am I writing this heading? Why am I writing this paragraph? Why am I, and it's those questions. And for me, the less that you have on the web page, the better. I want to go and do my thing, and once I've done my thing, I want to go off and have a drink with my mates, or go skiing, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's for me, yeah, alt text on images gets people in the mindset of, yes, I've got to include everybody with all of my content. So I think that's the thing that I would suggest. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me.
My absolute pleasure. It's been fun.
And yeah, maybe we can have another chat at some point soon, talk about all the stuff your app that you've been working on, and
yeah. Well,
further down the line, that would be good to hear about.
Great. Okay.
Cool.
Nice talking to you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.